My little sister sold the last thing. My birth parents left me so she could buy matching hoodies with her friends. When I confronted her, she smirked and said, "Looks like I win again." I didn't say a word. That was 9 months ago. Yesterday, she called me crying from the back of a cop car. The first few months were great. I still remember being 6 years old and being told that I was finally getting my forever home. When my new parents picked me up, I was hugged for the first time. My little heart was filled with more love than I knew existed. "Thank you for loving me," I proudly exclaimed, smiling with my underdeveloped baby teeth. Looking back, I should have known it was too good to be true. A few months later, my mom realized she was pregnant. My parents called her a miracle baby because apparently they had been trying for 5 years before adopting me. Then, it started. I'd ask my mom to read me a bedtime story like usual, and she told me to read it myself. Or when I'd beg my dad to play catch, instead of racing me outside, he'd straight up ignore me or tell me to learn to entertain myself. But at the time, I figured that they were probably just busy with the pregnancy. So from then on, I tried to be the best big brother ever. I spent all my free time drawing pictures of our family, with her included, helping pick out baby toys, and making up lullabies to sing to my mom's stomach, because I knew what it felt like not to have a family, and I never wanted my little sister Ella to go through that. So when she was born, I let my parents treat her better than me. When it was my 7th birthday, and my parents completely forgot about it, I let them. When they stopped hugging me because they didn't want baby Ella to feel jealous, I let them. And when I turned 9 and they told me I had to do my fair share by spending 2 hours cleaning the house every day, guess what? I let them. All in the name of Ella having a happy childhood. All so I could have the best friend I always dreamed about, but I never got it. Because when Ella turned 7, the age I was expected to grow up, they doubled down on spoiling and coddling her. For her 7th birthday, they sold some of my clothes to help fund her birthday party, an overnight stay at a local water park resort for all her friends and family. That was when I knew we were going to have very different lives. But still, I loved her and was happy for her. Because if one of us had to be treated worse, I would choose me, every single time. And since no one at home paid attention to me, I assumed no one would want to be my friend, which meant all my time was being poured into raising Ella and studying. So by the time I turned 19, I was on track to study engineering at a really good university. Meanwhile, Ella had turned into a spoiled little brat. One time, she came to me asking if I could pay to fly her and her friends to Disneyland for her 14th birthday. That would be all my savings. Savings I needed to buy groceries. So I told her no. "What the F? You're not even real family! You owe me!" My muscles froze. I felt goosebumps across my arms and legs. "Looks like I win again," she said, with a raised eyebrow and half grin. I didn't even plan on rebutting. I just wanted to cry, and that's when my mom stormed in. "Charlie," she turned to me, "you're supposed to be a good big brother. I thought your father made that clear." Suddenly, all ambiguity around my place in the family was dropped, because they started ranting to each other about how adopting me was a huge mistake, all while I was standing right in front of them. That was my breaking point. I didn't raise my voice, didn't even look at them. "One day, you'll need my help, and I won't be there," I said, voice calm. For a second, the room went completely silent. I don't know what was said next, because that's when I walked out. That night, I couldn't sleep. My brain was flooded with guilt. What if they took it seriously? What if Ella felt like she couldn't come to me for help anymore? What if I made my mom regret adopting me even more? I felt so guilty that I couldn't even bear to look at them. So I spent the next few days going to the library every morning until school started, and staying until close, until I had no choice but to confront them. It was a Saturday, and I had planned to spend the day doing my favorite comfort activity, taking the only thing my biological parents left me with, a gold chain, and talking to it. Pretend my real parents are sitting in front of me, supporting me, telling me how much they love me. Except, I couldn't find it, anywhere. I practically tore my room apart looking for it, and that's when I heard Ella's alarm go off. I ran into her room, panicking. Before I could even say anything, she stopped me. "I'm guessing you're looking for that chain." My knees weakened. Well, I had to do something for my birthday. So I sold it, and me and my friends all got matching designer hoodies. Thanks, BTW. Everything around me went silent. Ella was still talking, proud of herself, completely detached from what that chain meant to me. But I wasn't listening to her anymore. My thoughts were somewhere else, somewhere quieter, colder, because this wasn't about her birthday. This was about the last thing my parents ever gave me, and the second she sold it, something between us snapped, for good. I walked out of her room without saying a word. I could hear her calling after me, but I didn't turn back. I went straight to my room and locked the door. I sat on my bed, staring at the wall, feeling nothing and everything at the same time. That chain was the only physical connection I had to my birth parents, the only proof that they had existed, that they had cared enough to leave me with something. And now it was gone, traded for some stupid matching hoodies that Ella would probably outgrow or get bored with in a month. I pulled out my phone and checked my bank account. I had saved up about $3,200 from odd jobs and birthday money from my grandparents, the Miller's parents, who at least remembered I existed. It wasn't much, but it would have to be enough. I couldn't stay in this house anymore. I started packing my things, only the essentials. Clothes, toiletries, my laptop, and the few books I couldn't bear to leave behind. I could hear the rest of the family downstairs, laughing and talking like nothing had happened. Like they hadn't just taken the last piece of my real family and sold it without a second thought. I was supposed to start college in 3 weeks. The dorms wouldn't be open for another 2 weeks. I'd have to figure something out for those in-between days, but anything was better than staying here. Perhaps I could find a cheap motel, or maybe one of my few acquaintances from school would let me crash on their couch temporarily. Whatever happened, I knew I had to get out of this house where I'd never truly belonged. As I zipped up my backpack, I heard a knock on my door. It was David. "Charlie, dinner's ready. Your mother wants you to come down." My mother. That's a joke. I hadn't been her son since the day Ella was born. "I'm not hungry," I called back. "Don't be difficult," he said, his voice taking on that annoyed tone I'd become so familiar with. "Just come down and eat with the family." The family, as if I was part of it. I didn't respond. I heard him sigh and walk away. I waited until the house was quiet that night before I slipped out with my backpack. I left a note on my bed. "Gone to stay with a friend before college starts. Don't worry about me. They probably wouldn't anyway." I texted my only real friend from high school, Jake, asking if I could crash at his place for a couple weeks. We weren't super close, but he was one of the few people who actually talked to me. He lived with his parents in a small apartment, but they had a pull-out couch in the living room. I didn't tell him everything, just that I needed a place to stay before heading to college. "Sure, man. My parents won't mind. They like you," he texted back. I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. At least I had somewhere to go. I grabbed my backpack and headed out, walking the 3 miles to Jake's place since I didn't want to wake the Millers by starting my car. It was almost midnight when I arrived, sweaty and tired. Jake's mom answered the door in her bathrobe, looking concerned but not surprised. Jake must have told them I was coming. She gave me a quick hug and showed me to the couch without asking too many questions. That night, I slept better than I had in years, even on that lumpy pullout with springs digging into my back. The next morning, I woke up to the smell of bacon and coffee. Jake's mom had made breakfast for everyone, including me. She set a plate in front of me with a smile that reached her eyes. It was such a small thing, but it almost made me cry. When was the last time someone had made breakfast for me without expecting something in return? "Thanks, Mrs. Chen," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "You're welcome, Charlie. You know you can stay as long as you need to." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. Jake came in and grabbed some bacon, completely casual, like it was normal for me to be there. His dad joined us a few minutes later, nodded at me, and started talking about the baseball game from last night. No one asked why I was there or how long I was staying. They just accepted me. Around noon, my phone started blowing up with texts from Sarah. I ignored them at first, but they kept coming. "Where are you? Come home right now. We're worried sick. This is completely irresponsible." Sure, now they were worried about me. I turned my phone off and helped Jake's mom with the dishes. Later that afternoon, my phone rang again. It was David this time. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Charlie, where the hell are you?" he demanded. I told him I was staying with a friend before college started, just like my note said. "You can't just leave without telling us where you're going. Your mother is beside herself." I almost laughed. "Is she? Or is she just mad that there's no one to do the dishes and vacuum the floors? Don't be dramatic. You need to come home right now." "No," I said, surprising myself with how firm I sounded. "I'm not coming back. I'll pick up the rest of my stuff before I leave for college, but I'm not staying there anymore. This is about that stupid necklace, isn't it? We'll buy you another one." That's when I lost it. It wasn't a necklace. It was a chain, the only thing I had from my real parents, and you can't just replace it. "Your real parents? We're your real parents, Charlie. We raised you." "No, you didn't. You tolerated me. There's a difference." I hung up before he could respond. My hands were shaking. I'd never stood up to them like that before. Jake came into the room, pretending he hadn't heard everything. "Want to play some Xbox?" I nodded, grateful for the distraction. The next few days passed in a blur. I helped around the Chen household, doing dishes and taking out trash without being asked. Mrs. Chen tried to tell me I didn't have to, but it felt good to contribute. Mr. Chen even slipped me some cash for helping him fix their leaky bathroom sink. "College fund," he said with a wink. A week after I left the Millers, I got a text from Ella. "Mom and Dad are super mad at you. They said you're being ungrateful." I didn't respond. "Hello? I know you're reading this. Still nothing from me." "Fine. Be that way. BTW, I sold your Xbox too. Hope you don't mind, LOL. That was the last straw. I blocked her number. I blocked Sarah and David too. I was done with all of them. 2 days before I was supposed to leave for college, I went back to the Miller's house to get the rest of my stuff. I timed it for when I knew they'd be at work, and Ella would be at her friend's house. I used my key to get in and went straight to my room. Most of my things were still there, though my Xbox was indeed gone. I packed up my clothes, my books, and the few mementos I had managed to keep over the years. As I was about to leave, I noticed something on my desk that hadn't been there before. It was a small box with my name on it. Inside was a cheap gold-colored chain, obviously new from the mall or something. There was a note. "Hope this makes up for the other one." I almost laughed. They still didn't get it. It wasn't about the chain itself. It was about what it represented. This fake replacement was actually the perfect symbol for our relationship, a cheap imitation of something real and valuable. I left the chain and the note on my desk and walked out of that house for the last time. College was a fresh start. My scholarship covered tuition and housing, and I had enough saved up for books and basic necessities. I got a part-time job at the campus library to cover everything else. For the first time in my life, I felt free. My roommate Thomas was a cool guy who minded his own business but was friendly enough. We got along well, mostly because we both respected each other's space. The classes were challenging but interesting, and I threw myself into my studies. Engineering wasn't easy, but it gave me something to focus on besides my messed-up family situation. About a month into the semester, I got an email from Sarah. I almost deleted it without reading, but curiosity got the better of me. "Charlie, I hope college is going well. We miss you at home. Ella has been asking about you. Please call when you can. Love, Mom. I didn't respond. 2 weeks later, another email came. Charlie, please respond. We're worried about you. Dad and I want to come visit. Let us know when would be a good time. Love, Mom. I deleted that one too. I wasn't ready to see them or talk to them. Maybe I never would be. Midterms came and went. I aced most of my classes, struggling only with Calculus 3. My professor suggested I join a study group, which turned out to be the best decision I could have made. That's where I met Riley, a mechanical engineering major with bright blue hair and the quickest mind I'd ever encountered. She explained complex concepts in ways that actually made sense, and for the first time, I felt like I was actually understanding the material rather than just memorizing formulas. Riley and I started hanging out outside of the study group. We'd grab coffee or pizza, talking about classes at first, then about everything else. She told me about her large, chaotic family, 5 siblings, parents who worked multiple jobs, grandparents who lived with them. I told her about the Millers, though I kept some of the worst details to myself. They sound like real pieces of work, she said, after I explained how they'd forgotten my birthday 3 years in a row. I shrugged. I'm better off without them. Probably. But it still sucks. Everyone deserves to have people who care about them. Something about the way she said it made my throat tight. I changed the subject quickly. Thanksgiving break came up faster than I expected. The dorms were closing, and I had nowhere to go. I considered getting a hotel room for the week, but that would eat up most of my savings. Thomas offered to let me come home with him to Chicago, but I didn't want to impose on his family. Riley solved the problem for me. Come home with me, she said casually one day while we were studying. My parents always make enough food to feed an army, and they love having guests. I hesitated. Are you sure? I don't want to intrude on your family time. She rolled her eyes. With 7 people in the house already, 1 more won't make a difference. Besides, my mom will be thrilled to have someone new to fatten up. So that's how I ended up spending Thanksgiving with Riley's family. Their house was small and crowded, with people constantly coming and going. Her parents worked opposite shifts, so someone was always cooking or cleaning or helping one of the younger kids with homework. It was chaotic and loud and absolutely wonderful. Riley's mom, Mrs. Martinez, took one look at me and decided I was too skinny. She spent the entire week trying to feed me at every opportunity. Her dad taught me how to change the oil in a car and didn't laugh when I got it all over my hands. Her siblings included me in their board games and inside jokes like I'd always been there. On Thanksgiving Day, when we all gathered around their extended dining table, actually 2 tables pushed together with mismatched chairs, Mrs. Martinez asked everyone to say what they were thankful for. When it was my turn, I found myself getting emotional. I'm thankful that Riley invited me here, I managed to say, and I'm thankful that all of you have made me feel so welcome. Mr. Martinez raised his glass. Family isn't always blood, kid. Sometimes it's who shows up when everyone else walks away. I had to look down at my plate to hide the tears in my eyes. This was what family was supposed to feel like. When we got back to campus after break, I had 3 more emails from Sarah and 1 from David. I deleted them all without reading them. I was moving forward with my life, and they weren't part of it anymore. Winter break was approaching, and once again, the dorms would be closing. This time, I didn't even have to worry about where to go. Riley invited me back to her house without me having to ask, and her parents called to insist I come. We've already got your stocking hung up, Mrs. Martinez told me over the phone. The day before we were supposed to leave campus, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Normally, I would have let it go to voicemail, but I was expecting a call about a summer internship I'd applied for, so I answered. Hello? Charlie? It's Grandma Miller. I froze. I hadn't spoken to David's mother since I left for college. Charlie? Are you there? Yeah, I'm here, I said, finding my voice. Hi, Grandma. Oh, thank goodness. I've been so worried about you. Sarah and David said you weren't responding to their messages. I've been busy with school, I lied. I'm sure you have. Your grandfather and I are so proud of you for getting that scholarship. She paused. We miss you, Charlie. We'd love to see you over the break. I hesitated. I had always liked my grandparents. They'd never treated me differently from Ella, and they always remembered my birthday. But seeing them would mean potentially seeing the rest of the Millers, and I wasn't ready for that. I already have plans, I told her. I'm staying with a friend's family. Oh, she sounded disappointed. Well, perhaps we could meet for lunch one day. Just the 3 of us. You, me, and your grandfather. We could come to you. I thought about it. Maybe. I'll have to check my schedule. That would be wonderful, dear. Here, let me give you my cell number so you can text me directly. After I hung up, I sat on my bed, feeling conflicted. Part of me wanted to see my grandparents. They had always been kind to me. But another part of me was afraid that seeing them would somehow pull me back into the Millers' orbit, and I'd worked too hard to escape that. I decided to think about it over break. Maybe I'd meet them for lunch after Christmas. Maybe not. It was my choice now. Winter break with the Martinez family was even better than Thanksgiving. Their house was decorated from top to bottom with Christmas lights, paper snowflakes made by the younger kids, and a slightly lopsided tree covered in homemade ornaments. There was always music playing, usually something with a Latin beat that got Mrs. Martinez dancing while she cooked. On Christmas morning, I was shocked to find a pile of presents with my name on them. Nothing expensive, mostly practical things like warm socks, a new backpack for school, and books. But each gift had been chosen with care, and each one came with a hug or a pat on the back. After dinner, while everyone was playing with their new gifts, I slipped away to my phone and texted Grandma Miller. Merry Christmas. I hope you and Grandpa are doing well. She responded almost immediately. Merry Christmas, Charlie. We miss you so much. Are you having a good day? We texted back and forth for a while. She didn't pressure me about meeting up, just asked about school and told me about their quiet Christmas at home. It was nice, uncomplicated. When I went back to the living room, Riley gave me a questioning look. Everything okay? I nodded. Yeah, just wishing my grandparents a Merry Christmas. She smiled. Good. Now come help me beat my brothers at Monopoly. The rest of break passed too quickly. Before I knew it, we were heading back to campus for spring semester. I felt recharged and ready to tackle my classes. I even agreed to meet my grandparents for lunch at a restaurant near campus the following weekend. When I saw them waiting at the table, both looking older than I remembered, I felt a pang of guilt for cutting them out along with the rest of the Millers. They stood up when they saw me, and Grandma Miller hugged me tight. Look at you, she said, stepping back to examine me. College agrees with you. We had a nice lunch, catching up on everything that had happened since I left. They didn't mention Sarah or David or Ella, and I was grateful for that. As we were finishing dessert, Grandma Miller reached into her purse and pulled out a small box. We have something for you, she said, sliding it across the table. I opened it cautiously. Inside was a gold chain, similar to the one Ella had sold, but not exactly the same. This one was heavier, more substantial. It's not the original, I know, Grandpa Miller said quietly, but we wanted you to have something to remember your parents by. I looked up, surprised. How did you know about that? They exchanged a glance. Sarah told us what happened, Grandma said. She feels terrible about it, Charlie. They all do. I closed the box and pushed it back toward them. I don't want their guilt gifts. It's not from them, Grandpa insisted. It's from us. We bought it with our own money because we know how much the original meant to you. I hesitated, then took the box back. Thank you. That's really thoughtful. They smiled, relieved. As we were saying goodbye in the parking lot, Grandma held onto my hand. They miss you, Charlie. They've realized how badly they treated you, and they want to make amends. I shook my head. It's too late for that. It's never too late for family to heal, she said gently. I didn't respond to that. I hugged them both and promised to stay in touch, but I made no promises about reconnecting with the rest of the Millers. As spring semester progressed, I threw myself into my studies and my growing circle of friends. Riley and I were getting closer, though neither of us had made a move to be more than friends. I liked where we were, and I wasn't in a rush to complicate things. In March, I got an email from Sarah with the subject line, "Please read. Important." Against my better judgment, I opened it. Charlie, I don't know if you're reading these emails, but I hope you are. Ella has been having a hard time at school. She's failing several classes and has been getting into trouble. The school counselor thinks she's acting out because she misses you. Would you consider talking to her just once? She won't listen to us anymore. Love, Mom. I stared at the email for a long time before closing it without responding. It wasn't my responsibility to fix Ella's problems. They had made it clear for years that I wasn't really part of their family. Why should I step in now? But the email nagged at me. Despite everything, I still cared about Ella. She was just a kid, and she'd been raised to be entitled and spoiled. That wasn't entirely her fault. A week later, I got another email, this time from David. Charlie, I know we've made mistakes. Many mistakes. But Ella is in serious trouble. She was caught shoplifting yesterday. The store isn't pressing charges because it's her first offense, but she needs help. She needs her big brother. Please call us. Again, I didn't respond, but I did talk to Riley about it. They're trying to make their problems your responsibility, she said, after I showed her the emails. That's not fair to you. I know, I said. But what if I could help her? What if she really is acting out because I left? Riley gave me a long look. Charlie, you're one of the kindest people I know, but you can't set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. They didn't care about your needs for years. Why should you drop everything to fix their problems now? She was right, of course, but that night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Ella. Yes, she had been spoiled and mean, but she was still just a teenager, and maybe, in her own way, she did miss me. The next day, I did something I never thought I would do. I called Sarah. Charlie? She sounded shocked that I had actually called. Is that really you? It's me, I confirmed. I got your emails about Ella. Oh, thank goodness. She's been so difficult lately. We don't know what to do with her. What exactly is going on? I asked. Sarah launched into a litany of complaints. Ella was failing classes, talking back, breaking curfew, hanging out with the wrong crowd. The shoplifting incident had been the last straw. We've tried everything, Sarah said, sounding desperate. Taking away her phone, grounding her. Nothing works. The only person she ever listened to was you. I doubted that was true, but I didn't argue. What do you want me to do about it? I'm 3 hours away at college. Could you come home for a weekend? Just to talk to her? I almost laughed. Home? That hasn't been my home for a long time, Sarah. There was a pause. I know we've made mistakes, Charlie. We've realized that since you left. We miss you. All of us do. I find that hard to believe. It's true. Please, just come for a day. Talk to Ella. Then you can go back to college and never speak to us again if that's what you want. I thought about it. I'll think about it, but I'm not promising anything. After I hung up, I sat on my bed, wondering if I was making a huge mistake. Part of me wanted to help Ella. Another part of me was afraid that if I went back, I'd get sucked into their dysfunction again. I talked it over with Riley, who was concerned. If you do this, you need to set clear boundaries, she said. Go for the day, talk to Ella, and leave. Don't stay overnight. Don't let them guilt you into anything else. I know, I assured her. I'm not the same person who left last summer. I won't let them manipulate me again. So the following Saturday, I borrowed Thomas's car and drove the 3 hours back to the town where the Millers lived. I didn't tell them exactly when I was coming. I just texted Sarah that morning. I'll be there around noon. I'm only staying for a few hours. As I pulled up to the house, my stomach was in knots. I hadn't been back since I'd grabbed the last of my things before college. It looked exactly the same from the outside, but it felt completely different to me now. This wasn't my home anymore. It was just a house where I used to live. I took a deep breath and knocked on the door. Sarah answered almost immediately, like she'd been waiting by the window. "Charlie?" she said, her eyes filling with tears. "You came." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. She stepped aside to let me in, and I walked into the house that had never really been my home. I stepped into the living room and immediately noticed how quiet it was. No TV blaring, no music, no Ella shouting at her friends on the phone, just silence. "Where's Ella?" I asked, getting straight to the point. "In her room," Sarah said. "She doesn't know you're coming. We thought it might be better as a surprise." David appeared from the kitchen, looking uncomfortable. "Charlie, thanks for coming." I nodded but didn't say anything. The awkwardness was thick enough to cut with a knife. I glanced around the living room, noticing small changes. New curtains, different throw pillows on the couch, a family photo on the wall that must have been taken after I left. "I'll go get Ella," Sarah said, heading for the stairs. While she was gone, David cleared his throat. "You look good. College treating you well?" "Yeah, it's great," I said, not elaborating. I wasn't here for small talk. A few minutes later, I heard footsteps on the stairs. Ella appeared, looking nothing like the confident, bratty kid I remembered. Her hair was unwashed, pulled back in a messy ponytail. She was wearing sweatpants and an oversized hoodie. When she saw me, she froze. "Charlie?" Her voice was small, uncertain. "Hey," I said, trying to keep my tone neutral. She just stood there, staring at me like I was a ghost. Then she turned and ran back upstairs. I heard her bedroom door slam. Sarah sighed. "She's been like this for months. Up and down. One minute she's screaming at us, the next she's crying in her room. What do you want me to do about it?" I asked. "Just talk to her," David said. "She won't listen to us anymore." I headed upstairs without another word. I knew the way to Ella's room by heart, even though it had been months since I'd been there. I knocked on her door. "Go away," she shouted. "It's Charlie," I said. "Can I come in?" Silence. Then the sound of footsteps. The door opened a crack, and Ella peered out at me. "Why are you here?" she asked. "Your parents called me. Said you were having trouble." She rolled her eyes. "Of course they did. They can't handle me on their own. Can I come in?" I asked again. She hesitated, then opened the door wider. Her room was a mess. Clothes everywhere, empty soda cans on her desk, bed unmade, very different from the pristine princess room it used to be. I sat down on her desk chair while she flopped onto her bed. For a minute, neither of us spoke. "So," I finally said, "shoplifting, huh?" She shrugged, picking at a loose thread on her comforter. "It wasn't a big deal. Just some makeup. It is a big deal if you got caught. Could have gone on your record. Whatever. Not like it matters." I studied her for a moment. "What's going on with you, Ella? This isn't like you." She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "How would you know? You left." "Yeah, I did. After you sold the only thing I had for my biological parents." She had the decency to look ashamed at that. "I didn't think it was that important." "BS," I said, surprising both of us with my language. "You knew exactly what you were doing." She didn't deny it. She just looked down at her hands. "Look," I said, softening my tone. "I'm not here to rehash old stuff. I'm here because your parents are worried about you. They're not worried about me," she said bitterly. "They're worried about how I make them look. Perfect parents with their perfect miracle baby who's suddenly not so perfect anymore." That hit close to home. It was exactly how I'd felt growing up, like I was just a prop in their perfect family narrative. "Is that why you're acting out? To mess up their perfect image?" She shrugged again. "Maybe. I don't know. Everything just sucks now." "Since when?" "Since you left," she admitted quietly. "Everything changed after you left. Mom and Dad fight all the time. Dad sleeps in the guest room most nights, and they're always watching me, waiting for me to screw up. I hadn't expected that. I figured they'd just go on with their perfect little family once I was out of the picture. That's not my fault," I said. "I know," she said, "but I miss you, and I'm sorry about the chain. I was a real beach." I was surprised to hear her apologize. That wasn't like the Ella I knew. "Yeah, you were," I agreed. "But you were also a kid who never heard the word no." She actually smiled at that. "True. I was super spoiled. We talked for almost an hour. Really talked. Maybe for the first time ever. She told me about her new friends. Not the best influence from the sound of it. About how she was failing math and science. About how she felt like she couldn't do anything right anymore. I told her about college, about my engineering classes, about Riley and her family. I didn't sugarcoat anything, but I didn't try to make her feel bad either. "So what now?" she asked, when we'd run out of things to say. "Are you coming back home?" "No," I said firmly. "This isn't my home anymore. I have my own life now." Her face fell. "Oh, but that doesn't mean we can't stay in touch," I added. "You can text me. Call me if you need to talk." "Really?" She looked hopeful. "Yeah, you're still my sister, Ella. That hasn't changed." She nodded, blinking back tears. "I really am sorry, Charlie, about everything." "I know," I said, and I believed her, which surprised me. When we went back downstairs, Sarah and David were waiting anxiously in the living room. They both looked up when we entered. "Everything okay?" Sarah asked. "We talked," I said simply. "I need to head back to campus now." "Already?" David frowned. "We thought maybe you'd stay for dinner." "No, I need to get back. I have a study group tomorrow morning." Sarah looked disappointed but nodded. "Of course. Your studies come first." As I was getting ready to leave, Ella surprised me by giving me a hug. "Thanks for coming," she whispered. I hugged her back, realizing it was the first time we'd hugged in years. "Remember what I said. You can call me anytime." Sarah walked me to the door. "Charlie, before you go, your father and I want to apologize. For everything. We know we treated you unfairly." I looked at her. Really looked at her. She seemed sincere, but it was too little. Too late. "I appreciate that," I said, "but it doesn't change anything. We'd like a chance to make it up to you," David said, joining us at the door. "To be a family again." I shook my head. "I have a family now." People who actually care about me. They both flinched at that, but I didn't regret saying it. It was the truth. Take care of Ella, I said. She needs parents, not friends. Set some boundaries. Be consistent. They nodded, looking lost. I almost felt sorry for them. Almost. I drove back to campus, feeling lighter somehow. Seeing the Millers again had confirmed what I already knew. I was better off without them. But talking to Ella had been good. Maybe there was hope for her yet. When I got back to my dorm, Riley was waiting for me in the common room. How'd it go? She asked. I filled her in on everything as we walked to the cafeteria for dinner. She listened without interrupting, which was one of the things I loved about her. So you're going to stay in touch with Ella? She asked when I finished. Yeah, I think so. She's just a kid, you know? And maybe if she has someone to talk to who isn't Sarah or David, she'll get her act together. Riley smiled. You're a good brother, Charlie, even after everything they put you through. The next few weeks were busy with midterms and projects. Ella texted me a few times, mostly normal teenage stuff. She was trying harder in school, she said. Had broken up with her boyfriend who was kind of a loser anyway. It wasn't deep conversation, but it was something. Sarah emailed me once, asking if I'd reconsider coming home for spring break. I politely declined, telling her I was going to Riley's again. She didn't push it, which I appreciated. My grandparents continued to reach out regularly. I met them for lunch again, and this time, it was easier. They didn't mention Sarah or David, and I was grateful for that. They were the only part of the Miller family I still wanted in my life. As the semester wound down, I started making plans for the summer. I'd landed an engineering internship in the same city as our university, which meant I could stay in the area. Riley had gotten a research position on campus, so she'd be around too. One evening in late April, Riley and I were studying in the library when my phone rang. It was Ella. I almost sent it to voicemail. We were in the quiet zone. But something made me answer. Hello? I whispered, stepping out into the hallway. Charlie? Ella's voice was shaky. Can you talk? Yeah. What's up? Mom and Dad are getting divorced. I wasn't entirely surprised, given what Ella had told me about them fighting, but I was surprised that they'd actually made the decision. Are you okay? I asked. I don't know, she said. Dad moved out last week. Mom's been crying a lot. It's weird. I'm sorry, Ella. That's rough. Yeah. She was quiet for a moment. Dad wants me to live with him, but his new place is across town. I'd have to change schools. What do you want to do? I don't know. Mom needs me, but it's hard being around her right now. She's so sad all the time. We talked for almost an hour. I mostly just listened. When we finally hung up, I went back into the library to find Riley packing up our stuff. Everything okay? She asked. The Millers are getting divorced, I told her. Wow. How do you feel about that? I thought about it. Honestly, I don't really feel anything. It's not my problem anymore. But that wasn't entirely true. I did feel something for Ella, caught in the middle of her parents' mess. The next day, I got a call from David. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. Charlie, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, he started, but I'm calling about Ella. What about her? Sarah and I, we're separating. Getting divorced, actually. Ella's taking it pretty hard. She told me, I said. Oh, he sounded surprised. Well, I'm worried about her. She's shutting down again, not talking to either of us. What do you want me to do about it? I asked, echoing my question from months ago. I was hoping maybe she could visit you for a weekend, get away from all this for a bit. I hadn't expected that. Visit me? At college? Just for a weekend. She looks up to you, Charlie. More than you know. I thought about it. My dorm wasn't set up for visitors, but Riley had mentioned her parents were coming to visit in a few weeks and had rented an Airbnb. Maybe Ella could stay there with them. Let me see what I can arrange, I said. No promises. After talking to Riley and her parents, we worked it out. Ella would come the same weekend as the Martinez family. She could stay with them at the Airbnb, and we'd all hang out together. When I told Ella the plan, she actually sounded excited for the first time in months. Really? I can come visit you at college? Yeah, but you'll be staying with my friend's family, not in my dorm. And you have to be on your best behavior. These people are important to me. I will. I promise. The weekend of the visit arrived quickly. I was nervous about Ella meeting Riley's family. What if she reverted to her spoiled brat persona? What if she embarrassed me? But I needn't have worried. From the moment David dropped her off at the Airbnb, Ella was polite and friendly. She helped Mrs. Martinez make dinner, played board games with Riley's younger siblings, and didn't complain once about the cramped quarters. On Saturday, we all went to a local fair. Ella stuck close to me, taking everything in with wide eyes. At one point, she pulled me aside. Your friend's family is really nice, she said. Yeah, they are. Is this what a normal family is like? The question caught me off guard. I don't know if there's such a thing as a normal family, but they're good people. They care about each other. She nodded thoughtfully. I wish our family had been more like this. Me too, I admitted. By Sunday afternoon, when it was time for Ella to go home, she seemed reluctant to leave. She hugged everyone goodbye, including Riley's parents, whom she'd just met 2 days ago. Can I come visit again sometime? She asked me, as we waited for David to pick her up. We'll see, I said. Maybe this summer? When David arrived, he looked surprised to see Ella smiling and relaxed. Looks like you had a good weekend, he said. The best, she replied. Charlie's friends are awesome. As they were leaving, David pulled me aside. Thank you for this, Charlie. I haven't seen her this happy in months. I just nodded. I wasn't doing it for him. Over the next few months, Ella and I stayed in regular contact. She visited twice more, once during the summer when I was working my internship, and again just before her school started in the fall. Each time, she seemed more mature, more thoughtful. The Millers' divorce was finalized in August. Ella decided to live primarily with Sarah but spent weekends with David. She told me it was working out okay, though she missed having everyone under one roof. Sarah and David both tried to reconnect with me several times, but I kept them at arm's length. I was civil when we had to interact because of Ella. But that was it. Some wounds were too deep to heal completely. As for me, I was thriving. My internship turned into a part-time job I could do during the school year. My grades were excellent, and Riley and I had finally admitted our feelings for each other and started dating. One day in October, I got a small package in the mail. It was from Ella. Inside was a gold chain, not my original one, but similar. There was a note. I saved up my allowance for 6 months to buy this. I know it can't replace the one I sold, but I wanted you to have it. Love, Ella. I put it on immediately and sent her a photo. Her response came back quickly. Looks good, big brother. That chain wasn't just a piece of jewelry. It was a reminder that sometimes family isn't who raises you. Sometimes it's who you choose to keep in your life. And sometimes it's who fights to be there even after everything falls apart. I may have lost my adoptive parents, but I gained something better. A real sister, friends who became family, and the knowledge that I was worthy of love all along.